Hi, welcome to Quick Business Tips. I'm Jennifer Swineford, founder of Limitless Impact Agency, and this is the podcast for service-based business owners who want to grow their business without losing the heart behind it. Every week, I'm bringing you real practical strategies on marketing, sales, and customer experience. No fluff, no hustle culture nonsense, just what works. So let's get into it. I want to play a little game with you today. I'm going to read a LinkedIn post and I want you to decide whether you think a human wrote it. Ready? In today's dynamic business landscape, it's essential to leverage strategic frameworks that drive meaningful outcomes. As a seasoned professional, I've discovered that authentic connection is the cornerstone of sustainable growth. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Now, I think we can all agree that there's in no way a human wrote that. I did not do a stellar job of reading it. Like, no way. A person woke up, made their coffee, sat down, and thought, you know what I want to say today? Dynamic business landscape, cornerstone of sustainable growth. Nobody talks like that. I'm not sure anybody even thinks like that. But this is the kind of content that is flooding every platform right now. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, post after post. It is technically grammatically correct, structurally sound, but completely empty of any humanness. And that's what I want to talk about today. That content that is written entirely by AI and what it's doing to the brands that it represents. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this isn't a neutral thing here. This isn't harmless. It's sending a signal to every potential client who reads it. And the signal's not a good one. Now, I think it's important to be clear before we go any further into this episode. I am not anti-AI. I use AI tools in my business every day. They are genuinely useful for research, brainstorming, getting unstuck when I'm staring at a blank piece of paper. But there's a huge difference between using AI as a tool and letting it become the voice of your brand. And that's what I want to talk about today. So let me tell you some of the things that I'm noticing as I'm scrolling through my feed. There are signs, and you may have noticed them too. The EM dash, that's that long punctuation mark that looks like a dash, but it's bigger than a dash. I don't even know how to make it happen from my keyboard. Shows up constantly when AI is generating the content. It separates clauses, adds dramatic weight to things that may or may not need it. And once you start noticing it, you can't unsee it. There's also a word that I avoid at all cost because it has become like nails on a chalkboard. AI uses it all the time to add emphasis to things when there isn't a need for emphasis. The word is actually. And even when I hear it in everyday conversations, I cringe. Pay attention to the content that is showing up in your feed week to week, and you'll start seeing it too. For me, it's a huge red flag that AI was used to write the content. Doesn't mean it always is the truth, but it feels so true to me right now. Then there's the generic structure, 3 bullet points, a question at the end, a hook that sounds like it came from a template because it probably did. And then there's the thing that's really hard to name, to pinpoint, but you feel it in your gut. The posts don't have any heart. There's no real specific story, no moment of vulnerability, no observation that could have come from a particular person's point of view because that person had a real experience. They're just words. They're correct words. They're not offensive. They're well organized. But here's the important part. They're so easy to forget. And here's why that matters for your business. Your potential clients are scrolling through the same feed, and they're developing the same antenna that I know you all have. They can feel when something's real and when it was created by a computer. They might not be able to name it in detail and get as specific as I did right now, but they feel it. And when your content makes them feel like it was written by a robot and they think to themselves, this doesn't sound like a real person, they don't just scroll past your post. They start forming an impression about your brand, your business, and the work that you do. And they may not immediately think that you're bad at your job, but they start to think that you're not really there. There's no one at home behind your business logo. And that feeling is really difficult to undo. Here's something that's worth noting about what's happening on LinkedIn right now. I don't have any behind the scenes confirmed information, but people who are in the know that I trust and some of the statistics that I'm seeing shows that the platform is going through some algorithm updates, as they do very regularly. But this change has started heavily favoring personal profiles over company pages. And it's favoring the authentic human content over polished generic content. Now, I don't know if you're noticing that too on LinkedIn, but I'm seeing it more and more. And the engineers at LinkedIn made this change for a reason. AI content is flooding all of the platforms. And because of that, and because people react negatively to AI content, their engagement has decreased. Users started tuning out or leaving the platform altogether. And LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, they only make money if you stay on the platform. So every platform has to respond. The logarithm change that we're all assuming LinkedIn made rewards what AI struggles to produce: a real person, a specific story, a genuine perspective that came from a lived experience. Now, in the marketing universe, we call this founder-led content. Just means content written and posted by the human being behind the business. This can be the literal founder or someone high up in the company, someone on the sales team. This is what we all jumble together as founder-led content. And that content is outperforming anything that the business page itself by a really wide margin right now. Not because the personal profiles are more polished with their writing or their pictures. It's really the opposite. It's because the personal profiles are more human. So, that gut reaction that you might also be feeling when you see AI content in your feed, the logarithms are having the same reaction. And your clients are too. So, let me share with you how I use AI in my process because I think the nuance here is important. AI is great at getting you started. When I'm stuck coming up with a topic or an idea, I'll ask AI to help me brainstorm different angles. When I'm doing research, AI can pull together information faster than I could have ever done it myself. And when I need to think through a framework, AI is useful for being a critical thinking partner, as long as you ask it to. Everything I described is a tool. Here's what AI is not good at: sounding like a human being. It doesn't know about the client story from 3 years ago that changed how I think about my messaging. It doesn't know the way that I laugh when I talk about something that frustrates me. It doesn't know my own unique take that come from my own unique experiences or the way that I would say something when I'm talking to a friend. Those things are mine and I can't teach them to a computer program. But those are the things that make the content worth reading in the first place. So here's what I recommend to my clients. AI is great to give you a starting point, but starting point is not the entire post. The content, the thing that you post, is what happens after you take what AI has given you and run it through your own experiences, your own voice, your own stories. And this means heavily editing whatever AI wrote, not cleaning up a few phrases, and not recreating the wheel. Use the AI draft or outline as a loose reference, not a finished product that needs a little polishing. And then the final step that I recommend to almost every client that I work with: read it out loud. Even if you're writing the post completely on your own, read it out loud, not in your head, actual out loud voice. And here's why. When we read something silently, our brain makes corrections and fills in the gaps. It smooths over awkward phrasing and accepts language that's technically correct, even when it doesn't sound anything like us. But when you force yourself to say it out loud, your ear will almost always catch what your eye is missing. You'll hear yourself saying a sentence that sounds more like a press release than something you would say to a client. You'll catch a phrase that you would never say out loud. And you'll also notice places where the rhythm is off and it sounds like it was written by someone who never met you. If you find yourself stumbling while you're reading what you're thinking about posting, it needs more of a rewrite. If it sounds too stiff, loosen it up a little. And if it's something you wouldn't say to a friend or a client over coffee, then you don't want to be posting it on social media or LinkedIn. That simple test is the fastest way to catch the AI sounding content before it goes out into the world with your name on it. Now, I talked in an earlier episode about hiding behind my business page for a long time before I started showing up as my own personal brand. And I talked about how when I finally made that shift, I had inbound leads from people I had never met within just a few weeks. I want to revisit that story today through a different lens. As I look back, I think that part of what made a difference in my experience wasn't just that I was posting on my personal profile instead of my business page. It helped a lot that I was posting as my imperfect human self, as a little messy, not as polished, but much more human. Posts that landed were the ones that came from a real life experience, an observation in my week, a mistake I'd made, and what I'd learned from it, or a client situation that frustrated me and how I handled it. None of those things came from a template. No one could have generated those posts through a tool if it didn't know about all of my interactions that week, the clients I was working with, and the mistakes that I made. When you think about content for your own personal brand and how the algorithms are rewarding that more right now, that's something to be conscious of. But the other thing to be conscious of is that the people that you are looking to bring into your business are also responding more to the humanness behind that content. A lot of your competitors are outsourcing their voices to AI because we're all being told that AI can learn your voice and recreate it and be your twin. But we know because we've seen the content that all that content generated by AI is starting to sound like everybody else's content that's generated by AI. Your true voice, the stories that you experienced, your specific take on your own industry, that's something that AI can never copy. And no tool will ever be able to generate it. And when your feed is full of shiny, polished, completely forgettable posts, your messy, imperfect humanness is the most powerful differentiator you have right now. These are 3 things that you can focus on this week to help. First, go look at your last 5 posts. Read them out loud. If any of them make you cringe a little or sound like they could have been written by anyone in your industry, that's a signal that you need to make some changes. Number 2, rely on AI for research and ideas, but not for the final voice. Let it help you brainstorm, give you a structure, even an outline, but then put your own words in, your own stories. And 3, post on your personal profile this week, not just your business page. Post at least once on your personal profile a observation that you had this week, a story that you experienced, or a moment from time with your clients. See how your new posts land differently than the ones that you may have been leaning too heavily on AI for. And here's what I keep coming back to in all of this. There's a reason that humans connect with other humans and not with logos and brands. We were all built to be in relationship with each other. We enjoy the exchange that happens when one person connects to another person. We like recognizing something true about ourselves in someone else's story. And there's no tool that exists right now that can replicate that. There is no polished, technically correct piece of content that can fake that human connection well enough to fool the people that you are trying to reach. Your voice, your story, your presence, they're not just marketing assets, they're how you honor the people that you're trying to serve by showing up as yourself instead of that perfect version of yourself that a machine produced for you. So I want to encourage you to show up more often with your own voice and your own stories, because that is a marketing trend that is worth investing in. Now, if you would like additional help figuring out what your voice could sound like on paper and help building content that sounds like you every single time, that's exactly what we love to do with our clients. You can schedule a free strategy session with me using the link in the show notes or heading to limitlessimpactagency.com. And if this episode hit home for you, please share it with someone like you who you know has also been letting AI do most of the talking. If something landed for you today, I would be so appreciative if you'd share this episode with one person in your world who needs to hear it, because that's how this show will grow. And I am so grateful for every single share that is made. If you're ready to take what you learned today and put it into work to grow your business, I would absolutely love to talk to you. You can use the link in the show notes or visit limitlessimpactagency.com to schedule your free strategy session. We'll figure out exactly where you need to focus first. But until next week, go do something amazing.